Trapped with the Billionaire in Bali Part 1. Chapter 1, The Storm and the Stranger. The sky over U-But had started to rumble before the plane even touched down, thick clouds spilling over the jungle like a dark silk sheet. But Isabella Walker barely noticed. Her heart pounded with the kind of excitement she hadn't felt in months, maybe years. She had actually won something. Not just anything. A full week at the Indrani Hideaway, one of the most exclusive luxury resorts in all of Bali. For a struggling writer who lived off instant noodles and coffee, this was the universe throwing her lifeline in a diamond-encrusted champagne flute. As she stepped off the private shuttle and onto the smooth white stone path leading to the lobby, open air, draped in orchids and gold lanterns, the scent of frangipani wrapped around her like a blessing. A small Balinese woman in a silk sarong handed her a welcome drink with a slice of dragon fruit on the rim. Pure fantasy. Until, of course, the receptionist's smile faltered. "I'm sorry, Miss Walker," the young man said, glancing nervously at his screen. "Due to the monsoon system that just arrived, several guests haven't been able to check out. There's been a small error. The villa we assigned you is currently still occupied." Isabella blinked. "So? I wait." The receptionist hesitated, then leaned in. "We only have one other private villa with power and emergency backup right now. We can arrange for you to share it. Temporarily. Just until the weather clears." Isabella frowned. "With who?" He looked genuinely afraid to say the name. "Mr. Van Holst." "Van who?" He didn't answer. Just handed her a key card and whispered, "Good luck." The villa, no, the palace, stood at the edge of a private cliff, shrouded in rain mist and lit by golden sconces that flickered like fireflies. A koi pond glistened on either side of the walkway. She hesitated at the door, then took a deep breath and stepped inside. And nearly screamed. A man, tall, shirtless, soaking wet from the outdoor pool, turned sharply at her entrance. His dark hair was slicked back. He held a tumbler of something amber in one hand, his jaw set like a blade. "Who the hell are you?" he growled. Isabella froze. This is supposed to be my villa." The man narrowed his eyes. "It's not. Trust me. I won it. The travel contest. From Passage to Paradise." He gave a dark, humorless laugh. "That ridiculous Instagram campaign. They never told me they were giving away my villa like a prize in a cereal box." Her eyes widened. "Wait, you're Leo Van Holst." She knew the name. Everyone did. Billionaire. Tech prodigy. Recently disgraced in a headline-grabbing scandal involving a stolen AI patent, a rogue business partner, and something about a mysterious black box that was never recovered. No one had seen him in public for months. Leo's gaze cut through her. "Look, princess. I came to Bali to disappear. Not to play house with a fangirl." Isabella bristled. "I'm not a fangirl. I didn't even recognize you, you arrogant jerk." Lightning cracked outside. The lights flickered, then went out completely. "Great," Leo muttered. "Just perfect." They stood in awkward silence as rain hammered the glass walls. Somewhere nearby, a gecko chirped. Isabella clutched her suitcase like a shield. "Look," she said finally. "They told me there's no other accommodation with power. I'm not trying to ruin your billionaire sulk session, but I'm not sleeping in the lobby." Leo stared at her for a long moment, jaw ticking. Then he stepped aside with a sharp, reluctant gesture. "Fine. One night." You don't speak. You don't touch anything. And stay out of my space. Isabella rolled her eyes and marched in. You're delightful. The villa was a modern temple, walls of glass, carved wood accents, a sunken marble tub the size of a swimming pool. But tension buzzed in the air like electricity. Leo vanished into one wing. Isabella found the guest room, plopped down on the bed, and exhaled. This was not the vacation she imagined. No spa massages. No fruity cocktails. No inspirational jungle walks. Just a storm, a moody billionaire, and the suffocating sense that something about him wasn't just angry, it was haunted. She didn't know it yet, but the storm outside was nothing compared to the one about to erupt between them. And in that storm, secrets would be dragged to the surface. Hearts would break. And somewhere in the eye of it all, Isabella Walker was going to fall head over heels for the most dangerous man in paradise. Chapter 2, Roommates by Force. Isabella awoke to the smell of rain and the taste of tropical humidity clinging to her skin like silk. It was still storming, harder, if anything. Thunder cracked in rhythmic bursts, loud enough to rattle the windows. She rolled over in the massive bed and caught a glimpse of the jungle, shrouded in mist, stretching endlessly beyond the glass walls. No room in the world should feel this beautiful and this suffocating at the same time. She padded barefoot into the main lounge, hoping to scavenge some coffee, only to find Leo already there, barefoot himself, pacing shirtless with a phone pressed to his ear. No, I said no, Jet. The runway's underwater. Try again, he barked. He turned and saw her, eyes narrowing like she was a trespasser in his private bunker. Still here, he said. Isabella raised her eyebrows. Storm's still going. Power's still out. And surprise, the resort hasn't airlifted me out in a golden helicopter yet. Leo hung up with a disgusted sigh. All roads in and out are gone. Landslides on the mountain route. And no Wi-Fi. This place might as well be a silk-wrapped prison. She wandered toward the kitchenette. Guess you'll have to survive with a mere 6 bottles of champagne and your emotional support espresso machine. Leo watched her as if she were a hurricane in heels. By mid-morning, the resort manager appeared via tablet screen, battery-powered and blinking with static. I'm terribly sorry, she said, visibly sweating under a corporate smile. The storm is classified as a level 4 tropical cyclone. Evacuation is impossible. Road access will be restored in, possibly 3-5 days. At minimum. Days. Leo snapped. Isabella stepped into frame. So what exactly are we supposed to do in the meantime? The manager gave a weak chuckle. Relax. Enjoy each other's company. Leo scowled. Isabella didn't laugh either. They must coexist. By noon, the silence in the villa was a third person, uncomfortable, judgmental, and perched on every piece of handmade Balinese furniture. Isabella tried to write on her laptop, no cloud syncing, no research, no Google. Leo retreated to the terrace gym, slamming weights like he was punishing iron for breathing. At one point, they both reached for the same bottle of sparkling water in the fridge and froze, inches apart. She could smell the faint citrus of his cologne. He could see the freckles scattered across her collarbone. You're really going to keep stomping around like I'm a parasite, she said. I don't do roommates, he muttered. Oh please. You live in a tech bubble, don't you? You probably haven't done laundry since college. I dropped out at 19, Leo said coolly. Too busy building an empire. Fascinating. Do you treat all your guests like unwanted raccoons? He looked her up and down. Only the ones who show up uninvited, start touching my things, and somehow keep talking. The storm raged harder by nightfall, wind howling like it had teeth. Leo disappeared again after dinner, a comically silent meal of resort-delivered lobster bao buns and coconut rice. Isabella wandered the villa and ended up in the library, a soaring, sunken lounge with bookshelves and teakwood armchairs and a fireplace she couldn't figure out how to turn on. She found a vintage book of Balinese ghost stories and curled up beside a cold lantern, reading by flashlight. Just as she reached a chapter about jungle spirits stealing voices, Leo appeared in the doorway. "You're reading my book," he said. "Your name's not on it." He walked toward her, slowly. There was something different in his expression, less anger, more exhaustion. Maybe loneliness. "I used to read that when I couldn't sleep," he said, voice low. "Before everything went to hell." For the first time, she saw it, not the billionaire, not the tech titan, not the storm-trapped egomaniac, but a man carrying something dark in his chest. Something that had nothing to do with tropical rain and everything to do with the shadows behind his eyes. Isabella softened, just for a moment. "You could join me." He paused. "You always invite your enemies to bedtime ghost stories. Only the dramatic ones." He sat too close. The air between them charged. They read in silence, not quite together, not quite apart, while outside, thunder cracked, and the storm refused to let go. In that strange, breathless moment, they were no longer strangers. Just two people, trapped in paradise, both pretending they weren't unraveling. Chapter 3, Accidental Intimacy. By the next morning, the storm had gone from exotic ambience to tropical purgatory. Sheets of rain continued to hammer the glass walls, the jungle thrashing like it had a vendetta. The staff, reachable only through brief radio updates, informed them that the main backup generator had failed. Electricity was being rationed. Certain amenities were down. Leo didn't take it well. No Wi-Fi. No A/C. No news feeds. "No access to my encrypted servers," he muttered, pacing the villa like a caged jaguar. Isabella sipped her pineapple tea with extra smugness. "Sounds like someone's going through tech withdrawal." He spun around. "Some of us run empires, not blogs." "It's a novel, actually," she snapped. "Fiction. You might try it sometime. Get over yourself and develop a personality." Leo smirked. "You mistake sarcasm for charm. You mistake yourself for a god." Another standoff. Another moment that buzzed with heat, not just the tropical kind. They fought over everything that day. Over music volume. Over how many towels she used. Over who drank the last of the cold-pressed mango juice. She accused him of mansplaining coconut oil. He called her a walking Pinterest board of chaotic energy. But underneath the insults, something flickered: interest, curiosity, a low, persistent pull neither of them wanted to name. That evening, the spa mix-up happened. The resort sent word through a handwritten note. "The rainforest bath ritual is ready in Villa 9. A courtesy gift for our storm-stranded guests. We hope this brings you peace and serenity." Isabella, who needed something, anything, to relax her clenched shoulders, didn't think twice. She grabbed a silk robe and padded barefoot down the villa's side hall, following the soft scent of sandalwood to the spa room. Steam rolled in waves from the deep stone tub sunken into the floor. Flower petals floated in the bubbling water. Candlelight flickered on the walls. A dream. She dropped the robe, stepped in, leaned back, and sighed like she was exhaling her soul. Until a voice cut through the steam. Seriously? Are you everywhere? Her eyes flew open. Leo Van Holst stood at the door. Shirtless again. Wearing nothing but a towel around his waist and a look of murderous disbelief. What are you doing here? She shrieked, sinking lower into the water. This is my bath ritual. They scheduled it for me. No, it's for both of us. The note said guests plural. He stepped in, glancing around. Oh great. No extra towels. I don't care, I was here first. Leo looked at the water. Then at her. Then at the single flickering candle between them. A moment passed. Then he sighed and climbed in. She gaped at him. You are not serious. You want to fight over hot water now? Go ahead. But I'm staying. The tub was definitely not big enough for both of them. Their knees touched. His leg brushed hers under the surface. She could smell his skin, salt, heat, sandalwood and expensive defiance. Neither spoke for a moment. Then. You have a tattoo, he said quietly, his voice strangely soft. On your rib cage. She startled. How do you? I saw it last night. When you were changing. Through the glass. She flushed. You were watching me. You left the blinds open. A beat. She turned her head. It says begin again. Leo was quiet. That sounds like someone who's been through something. Her throat tightened. Don't go fishing for my trauma just because your hot tub has a guest now. He smirked. Feisty. You're an insufferable narcissist. You're a hurricane in yoga pants. But his tone had changed. Less biting. More curious. They sat in silence again, the storm still raging outside. Steam rose between them. The water, the closeness, the flickering candlelight, all of it a trap. A beautiful, slow-burning trap. At one point, he reached for a soapstone oil and accidentally brushed her thigh under the water. They both froze. His hand stilled. Her breath caught. Neither moved. The air between them crackled. Isabella, flustered, grabbed a towel and scrambled out of the tub. She slipped slightly, and Leo, reflexively, caught her by the waist, pulling her against his chest. Her robe had fallen. She was nearly naked. Their faces inches apart. His arms around her. Her hands on his bare shoulders. Careful, he murmured, his voice low and rough. Wouldn't want you slipping and breaking something. Isabella looked up at him, eyes wide, breath shallow, and for a long second, neither of them moved. Then she pulled back. Hard. Enjoy your bath, your highness. She yanked the robe on, stormed out, and slammed the door behind her, heart thundering, skin on fire. Back in the spa, Leo leaned back into the water, ran a hand through his hair, and swore under his breath. He had no idea what had just happened. But it was the first time in weeks that he wasn't thinking about the scandal. Just her. Chapter 4, Secrets in the Rain. The storm didn't let up overnight. If anything, it intensified, the kind of wild, rolling monsoon that turned paradise into something primal and dangerous. Thunder shook the glass walls. Palms bent like dancers in a trance. The air was so thick with moisture, it felt like walking through silk. Isabella awoke in a tangle of sheets, her mind still spinning from the candlelit bathtub encounter. She told herself it meant nothing. Just proximity. Just trapped people hormones. Just steam and stress and maybe a hint of Leo's jawline in low light. Still, she couldn't stop replaying the way his fingers had gripped her waist. The way his eyes had searched hers. Like he was seeing something he didn't expect to find. She shook it off and wandered barefoot into the lounge. The villa was quiet, too quiet. No sign of Leo. And that's when she noticed it. A sleek black briefcase sitting on the low marble coffee table. Not there last night. Alone, she hesitated. Chewed her lip. Took a slow step forward. The case looked expensive, reinforced, the kind you saw in political thrillers or spy movies. It didn't have a combination lock, it had a biometric scanner. She leaned down. Her reflection stared back from the glossy surface. What could a man like Leo Van Holst possibly need to protect in a villa like this? She circled the table once. Twice. And then she noticed the edges of a folded paper, wedged into the corner underneath the case. Just barely visible. Just barely reachable. She slid it free with careful fingers. Not paper. A photograph. She blinked. It was an old photo, printed, not digital. Worn around the corners. A young boy, maybe 10, smiling shyly in front of a crumbling orphanage sign written in Dutch. And standing behind him, a tall man with a cold expression. Leo. But much younger. Harder. The photo sent a jolt through her chest. She tucked it back just as she heard footsteps approaching. Leo appeared, shirtless, again, hair damp, a towel around his neck. "You're up early," he said, heading to the minibar. She stood awkwardly, trying to appear casual. "Didn't sleep much." He murmured, grabbing a bottle of chilled coconut water. His eyes landed on the briefcase, and instantly, his entire body stiffened. "You touched it," he said sharply. "What?" she said too quickly. "No, of course not. Why would I?" His voice was flat. Cold. "Because people always touch things they're told not to." She crossed her arms. "No one told me not to." He stepped closer. "That case is private. Relax. I wasn't trying to open it. I just..." He cut her off. "That's not a toy, Isabella." There was something dangerous behind his tone, not quite anger. More like fear. She took a breath, keeping her gaze steady. "So what's in it?" Leo didn't answer. She waited. Still nothing. Finally, she tilted her head. "Is it about the scandal?" His jaw clenched. "Bingo. That's none of your business," he said, voice suddenly quiet. "So it is true," she said, testing him. "You were involved in stealing something." "I didn't steal anything," he said, too fast. She stepped forward. "But someone close to you did." That stopped him. He stared at her, and for the first time, the mask cracked. "There are things about my past," he said, carefully, "that don't belong in tabloids. Or gossip blogs. Or novels." Her breath caught. He knew about the manuscript. Before she could defend herself, he walked to the case, snapped it shut with one hand, and carried it to the far side of the villa, locking it behind a mahogany panel she hadn't even realized was a hidden compartment. "Some doors," he said without turning back, "should stay closed." The rain was still falling in heavy, moaning sheets. Isabella sat at the dining table, picking at grilled sea bass and tropical vegetables she barely tasted. Across from her, Leo was silent, eyes fixed on the storm outside. She couldn't stop thinking about the photo. The boy. The orphanage. The guarded pain in Leo's eyes. He was hiding something, not just from the world. From himself. And for the first time, Isabella wanted to know the truth, not out of curiosity, but because she sensed it mattered. That he mattered. The arrogant billionaire who treated her like a nuisance had ghosts. Maybe monsters. But maybe, just maybe, he had a heart, too. Chapter 5, The Tabloid Twist. The sun never rose on the fifth morning in paradise. Not really. Instead, the skies yawned open with the same endless grey, and the rain pressed down like a weight. But sometime before dawn, the wind stilled. The crashing eased. The power flickered, and held. Isabella blinked, awake to the low hum of the air conditioning and the soft ping of her phone charging. Signal. After 3 full days of blackout, her screen lit up like a Christmas tree. 82 missed messages. 24 voicemails. 47 social media notifications. And 1 urgent email subject that stopped her breath cold. "You're in the news, with Leo Van Holst." She scrambled upright in bed, swiping through her messages. Photos. Screenshots. Headlines. Tweets. There she was. In fuzzy zoom shots. Stepping off the resort shuttle in Bali. Holding a welcome drink. Standing beside Leo. And one particularly unfortunate angle of her exiting the spa in her robe while Leo, shirtless, trailed behind her. One tabloid had circled the image with red ink and the headline: "Disgraced billionaire hiding out in Bali, who is the mystery woman?" Another, "Van Holst's secret lover. The writer in the villa." "Oh my God," Isabella whispered, fingers trembling as she scrolled. Her inbox exploded with requests. Exclusive interview. Do you have a comment about Leo's data scandal? Are you his accomplice or his mistress? She felt the blood drain from her face. The phone slipped slightly in her grip. How did they even know she was here? Leo was in the kitchen when she stormed in, eyes wide and wild, still in her pajamas. "You need to see this." He barely looked up. "I already did." Isabella tossed her phone onto the counter. "I'm in your scandal, Leo. I'm in it. My face is on gossip sites next to the words hacker girlfriend." He picked up her phone, calmly swiping through the images. They always go for the girlfriend angle. They need a hook. She stared at him. "That's it. That's your reaction. You don't even care that they're dragging me into this." He finally looked at her. His eyes were cold. "I didn't invite you here. I didn't invite myself either." "Then leave." That stunned her. "Excuse me." Leo tossed the phone back onto the marble countertop and walked past her. "They found me. That means the NDA failed. That means someone sold us out. So yeah, if I were you, I'd run before it gets worse." Isabella blinked. "You think I sold you out? You're a writer. You said it yourself. People like you trade secrets for stories." She took a step back, breath catching. "Well, you really think I'm that kind of person?" "I think," Leo said, turning around slowly, "I don't know you at all. And that makes you dangerous." As the tension shattered between them, Isabella's mind spun. She needed to know the truth. The full picture. She found him an hour later on the upper deck of the villa, staring out over the rain-drenched jungle, a half-empty glass of whiskey in hand. "I deserve to know what I'm caught up in," she said. No deflections. No charming billionaire one-liners. Just, talk to me. Leo didn't turn. 2 years ago, he said, voice low, I created something called the Echo Protocol. A private intelligence AI designed to track cyber-terrorist threats before they launched. He exhaled sharply. It worked. Too well. It started mapping people's behavioral patterns. Private messages. Purchases. Facial recognition. Global data. Isabella's eyes widened. You built a surveillance program. I built a shield, he said, jaw clenched. But someone I trusted turned it into a sword. My lead engineer sold the code to a government. A corrupt one. I found out too late. Why didn't you come forward? I did. But by then, I was the face of it. My name. My patents. My technology. And the briefcase, she asked, gently. Does it have proof? Leo finally turned. It has the last working drive of Echo. Untraceable. Off-grid. I kept it. Not to sell. Not to profit. To make sure it could never be used again. Silence hung heavy between them. Why tell me now, she whispered. He looked at her for a long, long moment. Because you're already in this, he said quietly. And I don't know why, but I don't want you to leave. Isabella sat alone in the library, her phone buzzing non-stop. Agents. Journalists. Editors. Even her ex. She blocked them all. Then she opened a blank document. Her fingers hovered over the keys. What if the man they called a monster wasn't one at all? What if he was the hero of a story no one had the courage to tell? She started to type. For the first time in a long time, the words came easily.
Thanks for listening to Billionaire Romance Stories, where love meets luxury in the most unexpected places. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. We love hearing your favorite twists and wild theories. And don't forget to ring that bell, because in this world of yachts, secrets, and steamy romance, the next story is always one scandal away.